Hi guys, so I just want to walk you through kind of what my expectations are for this video, okay? I'm going to walk you through one question, and remember, you do have 3 questions for waves, but I'm going to walk you through one question from how to fill out this document all the way to the Flipgrid itself, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use my planner, okay? And I put my question here at the top. Your questions are already there, so you don't have to worry about that, but my question was a little different. So Model X and Model Y both represent particles of the same substance. Identify the states of matter represented by Model X and by Y. Support your answers using evidence from the models. I also have to describe what the third model would be, and that's not represented, and then explain my reasoning, okay? So looking at this question, I looking at the models, I know what is which, okay? So I'm gonna start putting in my key ideas, okay? So for my first key idea, I wanna tell you what Model X is. So Model X is a solid, okay? So I'm gonna say Model X is a solid, and that's because the particles are touching. They have a rigid structure. There's an orderly pattern. I think that's all I'm going to put, yeah. So, and then Model Y. Now that I finished X, I'm going to say Model Y is a liquid. And I'm going to tell you why Model Y is a liquid. And it shows the particles are touching, but they're a little more spread out, okay? They're spread out at the bottom. And they're a little more disorderly than the solid was, okay? I answered A. I have what Model X and Model Y are, and then I explain why. And now the third model, the one we're missing, so I'm going to say Model Z. Model Z is equal to a gas. And then I have to say what that model would look like because it's not pictured. So what it would look like. It would show particles throughout the container. Maybe they're exiting the container. And those are all characteristics of a gas, okay? So those are the key ideas I want to talk about to answer this question right up here, okay? Now, I'm going to go down here. The vocabulary I'd like to include. Well, I'd obviously like to include solid, liquid, gas, and I'm also going to make sure I point out what a particle is because I talk about particles a lot up in my key ideas, okay? Now, the models or images I want to include, I am given Model X and Y, but I'm not given Z. And sometimes it's easier to describe things when you have a picture there. So I'm going to actually include a model that has a gas, liquid, and solid so I can talk about all 3 of those things and have that picture there for me. So I'm going to include this image right here. Okay. Now I have to work on my script. So remember, your script, like I said, it doesn't have to be word for word what you say in the Flipgrid. I just want you to kind of have an idea of what you are going to talk about in your Flipgrid prior to making your Flipgrid, okay? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how Model X represents a solid. And this is because the particles are touching. They have a rigid structure, and they are arranged in an orderly pattern. All of which are characteristics of a solid. Okay, and I did a couple typos because I was trying to type fast, and we will fix that. Okay. The next question, or the next thought I want to talk about is Model Y. So Model Y represents a liquid because the particles are touching, but they are spread out at the bottom of the container. Okay. They are also disorderly. The particles are also disorderly, all of which are characteristics of a liquid. Okay. Third thing I'd like to say is the third model. So the third model would represent a gas. The model would show particles throughout the container. Which is a characteristic of gases, possibly even showing particles exiting the container. Okay. So I hit all three of my key ideas, but now I want to look at my vocabulary. So I have my solid, liquid, and gas, which I do talk about each one and characteristics of each. But the particles I really haven't talked about. So when I have this image up, I want to talk about what a particle actually is. So point out what a particle is in the model. Okay, so I do want to do that as well. Okay, so I have this all set. So my next thing I'm going to do is make sure I've answered the question. So I identified the state of matter, told them why, the third, and then explained why, my reasoning for that. So I've done all of that. So I want to show you right here. This is similar to our scoring rubric. So remember, a 3 is the goal, so the evidence of understanding. So I responded and I provided clear evidence, okay, of the states of matter, and I supported the claims of evidence using evidence, and I described a third model and what it would look like. So that would be the 3, okay? A 2 would be if I did either or maybe I told you what X, Y, and Z were, but I didn't tell you why I thought that, okay? So that would be the 2. Somewhere in the middle of those would be a 2.5. Now to get a 4 on this problem, I would actually have to talk about a real world application. So what I'm going to talk about is Cobbett's Pond. You guys are all familiar with Cobbett's Pond, okay? It's a pond. Right now it is a liquid, okay? But in the wintertime, when it's cold enough, the water actually freezes. Now, why do I care about that? Well, when the particles become a solid, so on Cobbett's Pond, when the particles become a solid, they form an orderly, rigid structure that I can ice skate on. Okay, so that would be my real world application, is taking these particle models and using them for something that you would actually use in real life. Okay, so during the wintertime, I take advantage of the fact that the particles become that rigid structure. Okay, so they're all in that orderly pattern, they form ice, and I can actually skate on that during the wintertime. Okay, so now this is all set for me. I'm happy with this. So once you do this for all your questions, so questions 1, 2, and 3, you are going to go over to Flipgrid, and this one is the original Say Hello, so don't worry about that. But there will be a discussion post for the summative, and I'm going to record a response. Okay, so as you can see down here, we have all our different options. I'm gonna add my file that I want to add. Okay, so my particle model is there. And like I said, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. Okay, look at me. I'm gonna cover mine right up. Okay, I just need to hear your voice. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my document and film my video. Okay, so I already have that video planning document all done. So I'm gonna start filming my video now. So I have this all set up. And now, I don't know if you guys have used these tools before, but this is a board if you wanna draw something and label. Again, another drawing, some stickers like the emoji stickers. You can type in text or use different kind of filters, okay? These are all optional, nothing that you have to complete, okay? But I do highly recommend having some sort of model is required for a couple of the questions, okay? So make sure that you are including those models when you need to. Okay, so now I'm gonna go through and film my video, okay? Hi guys, so what I'm gonna do first for my video is I'm gonna talk about the question. So the question, I was given a couple particle models and I had to decide what those particle models represented and why. Okay, so in my question, model X is a solid because the particles are touching. They have a rigid structure. They're arranged in an orderly pattern, which are all characteristics of a solid. Model Y represents a liquid. This model shows particles are touching, spread out at the bottom of the container, and they are disorderly, which are characteristics of a liquid. You can see these two models right here. One is a solid, one is a liquid. A third model would represent a gas. The model would show particles throughout the container not touching, which is a characteristic of a gas, possibly even seeing the gas particles leave. Now, I've used that word particles a couple times now, and I just want to talk about what a particle is. See one circle right here or right here? That one circle is a particle. It represents one particle of the substance. Okay, and the reason it's important to understand the states of matter is, for example, is when I want to ice skate in the wintertime, I can only ice skate on solids because they're orderly, they have a rigid structure, and they'll hold me up. A liquid water wouldn't hold me up in the wintertime, okay? Hi guys. Okay, so as you can see, I only did 1.5 minutes because that was the limit on the video from before. So I kind of raced through that as quickly as I could, but you have a longer limit. You have that 20-minute limit. Remember, the Flipgrid limits you to 10 minutes, but I'm allowing you to use up to 20. So get questions, if you think you're gonna surpass that 10-minute limit, get questions 1 and 2 done in the first video, and then question 3 done in the second video, okay? But this is the exemplar for the problem. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me.